It's called Itauguá, and it's literally known as the Ciudad de Ñanduti. And Ñanduti is a this cultural clothing type of clothing that they have in Paraguay. So what it really is, it's when people they knit like certain designs into the clothing or ties or dresses, and they do these designs to give it a more of like a piece of their culture into it. So Itagua is known for that. It's everywhere. Like Nyandu tea shops are there's a whole strip of just like five stores back to back, all selling the same thing. And so that's a really big thing that Itagua sells. It's also really good with pizza. I don't know why, but that was my first area that I went to that there was a lot of pizza, and I was like, this is great. I haven't had pizza in like a year because all my other areas didn't have any. And so that was a really big food thing that they had in Itagua. It was a little bit also a lot more it looked like one of my friends said it looked like a downtown Provo, the where like the main stores were. And now being in Provo, I can see like that feel. So it was definitely one of my nicer areas. Itagua was beautiful. It was one of my favorite areas too. I was also there for 6 months. It was the longest I had been in an area until then. So the members there were amazing. A lot of them work in Itagua itself, or the furthest they will go, I think, is San Lorenzo. And San Lorenzo is like a 30-minute bus ride to south. So most of them will work in Itagua itself. It's a big enough town, it's a big enough city to just maintain itself. There are supermarkets there are clothing stores, there's fast food places, there's the houses are a lot nicer. It's not until you start going deeper into Itagua that you start to find like the houses inside of like jungles. So there's places called asentamientos and conavis. So they're government owned property that they give to the citizens of Paraguay. If you're a Paraguayan, you just sign up, and if you qualify, they give you a house, and you basically like pay it off little by little by small fees. But it's a house that's constructed with land, which are the conavis, and asentamientos are pieces of land. You still have to construct your own house, but they give you the land, so you have something to build on. So those were two of the further away places. So if it was Itagua, it'd be the center, and then Conavi would be in the south of it, and Asentamiento would be in the north of it. So they were very far away from where the center was, so they were a lot more poor. To get to the Asentamiento, I remember we would cross a cattle farm. I remember when I first got there, I asked my companions, like, is this illegal? Like, is this trespassing? And he just turned around and he said, it's Paraguay, nothing's illegal here. I was like, okay, sure. So we're like walking through like a forest. Literally, it looks like a forest or a jungle. There are trees everywhere, and I can't see the path anymore. He just knows where to go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this does not look like the center anymore. Like this is not Itagua. And he's like, no, don't worry. Like we're still in Itagua. We're still in our area. And we're walking, and then we go under a fence, and there's just wheat everywhere and cattle. And I don't like cows. I'm scared of cows, actually. So I had to get used to them. And there was one point where they were like all herd together where we had to exit out so we could get to the actual asentamiento. And my companion would always just go in front of me and just like put up his hand, and they would just leave, like just like be gone. And then that was really funny because how that worked. And then we would get to the actual asentamiento. So when you go there, you can definitely feel the poverty, like that there's a higher poverty there, as opposed to when you're in the center itself. As well as Conavi is kind of more like the chuchi high-end version of asentamientos, because even though they're government owned, they still give them a house. Asentamientos, you don't get a house, you have to build it. So there's a lot of like wooden plank houses or like plastic wrap houses or banner houses. Like it was really interesting. They would take banners that supermarkets would make, like huge advertising banners, take them and put 4 sticks and wrap it around, and then they would go inside and that would be their house. So it was a very big difference. And in Conavi, they would give them material houses. Like it would be made out of material, it would have a roof, it'd have a kitchen, it'd have a small kitchen with the dining area together, and 2 rooms and a bathroom, and the bathroom would be on the inside. So Conavies were a lot nicer, but it was also really far. There was one bus that came like every 15, 20 minutes that would take you from the center to Conavi. So there were days where my companion and it would be no point. I think we'd spend the same amount of time walking to the Conavi as waiting for the bus. So it was a really big area. Itauguá is huge. Itauguá was one of, I think, the biggest area I had on my mission. It used to be split up into 4, and by the time I had left, it was 2, and it was big enough with 4. So yeah, it was one of my nicer areas. It was one of my safer areas as well, for the most part. There wasn't a lot of danger. There wasn't a lot of things that were going around like my other area had been. Everything was very calm. We could walk. I remember we were coming home one night, and it was usually 9 o'clock is when you should, like, for sure for some of my areas. But this one was like, if we got out of a lesson and we were gonna make that 9:30 time, then it would still be fine. It would be quiet. Like, no one would be out. Like, it was definitely a safer part of the of my mission. I felt safer. There were some areas where I didn't feel safe, where even like at 8:30 I was like, oh, like looking around because it felt sketchy. But Itauguá definitely was not one of them. Itauguá was definitely a really nice, really well kept, I think, city. It had a lot of they call them librerias. I don't know why, because libraries aren't supposed to sell books. They just sell like school supplies. They had a bunch of school supplies, places that they sold. They had a lot of places to use computers as well. They had 3 major ones, and that were really nice. One of the nicer places to use the computer. So it was overall, I think Itauguá was just like a really nice area. So it was a really nice city. It was my favorite. I'd go back. I think I even said when someone asked me, of all your areas, which one would you move to? I said Itauguá, just because it's so commercialized. It's so nice. It has everything, basically. It has your supermarket. It has your clothing stores. It has jobs. It has banks galore. It has banks everywhere. The transportation is really good too. All the major colectivos, buses go through there. So in general, it was, I think, my favorite